Hey guys, welcome to the running journey. It's Rob Tatro. I'm excited today. It's my brother Charlie, and we also have none other than CrossCanadaJax, Jackson Charron. Jackson is a proud Manitoban who's now living in New Brunswick, but Jackson did something that I think anyone who's ever looked up to Terry Fox, he actually did it. Jackson ran across Canada. He did it over the course of about 160 days, and he averaged right around, I want to say 50-ish K, not quite, maybe 47K or something. We'll get into the details, but he literally did a marathon a day, just like Terry did. Terry Fox, one of his all-time idols and heroes. And today we get to talk with Jax about his Cross Canada run. I'm pumped because I followed it closely. I was following you on TikTok. It was really, for me, the first time I ever followed any story on TikTok. I'm a boomer. So for me to like pick up a phone and follow a story on TikTok was something I'd never done. Really a cool way that you did it through TikTok. You'd do one recap per day and then you'd go live. Anyways, we'll talk about all that. I want to start with, you're a young guy. How long did it take you to decide that you wanted to? When did you decide you wanted to run across Canada? How did the logistics start, and when did you start? What was that timeline like? How long did it take you to figure that out?
For sure. So right now I'm currently 26 years old. I finished the journey while I was still 25, and I started, I guess, pondering it around the age 20, which was where I was telling you a little earlier before we started. I had created this huge bucket list of things I wanted to do in my life, and I was kind of grading them as in, what would be along my list of to-do lists of things in my life, like what would be things that would be easier to accomplish in my younger years, and things that I can accomplish as I get older and won't be as difficult, as I'm sure you can imagine running across Canada when you got a big family and full-time employment and whatever that may be. It gets a little more challenging logistically. So I had made a big list of things I wanted to do, and it wasn't even per se running across Canada. It was just honoring Terry was my duty and goal with that mission. It all started out actually as something called Terry Fox Tribute. So I wanted to just do this whole journey. I didn't even really want it to be a named face in this whole thing. I just wanted to be the vessel that went across Canada and said prayers for Terry along the way. Like his journey has inspired many since his time, and I know his famous quote, if the marathon of hope must continue. And I took that quite literally, and I was like, well, that must mean he wants people to finish the run and keep raising hope for cancer. And so that's just what I wanted to do. I didn't want to, I went 7,000 kilometers, not 7,100, because I didn't want to end right at the end where Terry wanted to. I didn't want to, in a way, it was almost like I didn't want to show Terry up. I just wanted to do exactly what I wanted to do for Terry and then go home. And that's exactly what I did. From 20 years old to 24, I trained every single day after work. I would do 2-3 hours of cardio.
In Winnipeg, right?
In Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would go to work. I would get at least 10 to 15,000 steps at work, and then running up and down the stairs too. So I would count that in. I'd bike home. I'd get into the hot yoga studio for an hour or two, and then I would do one more run afterwards. At one point, I was a rake. I was like 140 pounds, and for years. And then I just kept building my body up, and I figured I will take off when I know mentally and physically I was ready. And my life was just slowly building up to that point. And eventually at 24, and the way things were, I had actually initially set April 12th, 2023, the day Terry started, and it was Terry Fox Tribute. And then I got into a lot of conversations with the Terry Fox Foundation, where there was a lot of copyright issue because, the April 12th, that day is for Terry. They didn't want me starting on April 12th. They didn't even want me going west to east, or east to west, because that was Terry's iconic direction. They didn't want me taking his exact same route. They didn't want me using Terry Fox Tribute as my name. So I did have to rejig a lot of my mission. But it all kind of lined up where March 6th, 2023, I took off from St. John's, Newfoundland, and that was it. August 12th, 2023, I finished. But there was a lot of training and build up until the time was there.
That's awesome. Charlie, do you want to get in here? Otherwise, I'm just going to keep pestering this guy because I got so many questions I want to ask him. Oh, Charlie's on mute here.
Yeah, no, you can keep going. I'm
So-
listening. Really, really intrigued by the story, but yeah.
So I want to hear about the bit of the background with respect to the Terry Fox Foundation. If you want to just touch on that briefly, was it like, I know you had some lofty goals. You want to raise $100,000. Was it a little tougher than you thought it was going to be to partner with them at first? Did they just think you were a fraud or just some other guy that was just gonna, because there's a lot of people that say they're going to run across Canada, right?
Totally. I love that question. So what happened was I was reaching out to them extensively for about a year and a half to 2 years before my journey, just trying to touch base with them. They had heard of me and seen I would say I'm persistent. And so I was really trying to get a hold of them because in my mind, I was doing this mission completely on my own dime. I just wanted them to be aware of who I was and what I was doing. And if anything I was doing was crossing a line with Terry's legacy or his family. And they had thought out to receive funding for this run. So eventually I finally got to connect with Fred Fox and a couple of the other higher ups at the Terry Fox Foundation over a Zoom call. And they got to learn a little bit more about who I was and what I was trying to do. And right off the hop, they were kind of confused because they thought I was going to come in and pitch myself why I deserve all this money and this crew to go across Canada. And I was just like, here's my plan. Here's what I'm going to do. Here how I plan to achieve it. Tell me if there's anything that doesn't align with you guys. Because ultimately I was promising all the funds I'd raised, which I was going for 50 grand at first. And I was just like, I love Terry. I love what you guys do. Whatever I raise is going to go to you guys. And they were like, oh, wow, like you would be surprised. We get 100 at least inquiries a year of people reaching out to them, wanting funding, wanting the advertisement, wanting basically them to do it all just for them to be the runner. And basically, I didn't even partner with them either. We were at an arm's length because, like, you know, if we didn't have any highway permits either. So if I were to get in trouble out on the side of the highway without a permit, then that looks bad on them and whatnot. So it was really just an independent project funded through myself, inspired by Terry. And they were just kind of at an arm's length if I ever had any questions or whatnot. But basically that was the gist of it. And I tried not to bother them whatsoever throughout my entire journey. And then at the end of it, I just showed up with my check. They were even like, we would have paid for your hotel. We would have paid to get you down here. But it's just, for me, it was just about honoring Terry in the most legit way possible I could in my heart. And I felt like I did that. And that was it.
Yeah, I think so. I get why they're like that, right? Because it's such an iconic brand and such a strong brand and such a, they want to protect it, I guess. I totally get it. But it's funny that you didn't even want the hotel room. Like, I followed you on TikTok, so I know the story. I remember vividly when, you were chatting with the guy from the owner of the hotel across the street, and everyone on TikTok wanted you to go spend the night at the hotel. And you were like, can you guys please just leave me alone? I just want to sleep in my van. You're like, Rob and I just want to sleep in the van. And this is what it's about. Our journey is about doing the miles, being, with our thoughts and with ourselves and with you guys and sharing the vision and all that. Charlie probably wants to ask you a bit about the running itself. I imagine, so the training. So Charlie and I run a lot. Charlie, how many miles have you done this month or this week or this? You're probably at 50 miles a week, I would imagine, something like that.
Just over 40 now. Yep.
45 miles a week. So do you remember what you were doing back in the day when you were training, Jax?
I was doing up to 200 kilometers to 250 kilometers a week at my peak before taking off.
Wow.
Yeah. You were basically replicating what what you'd be doing. Not quite, but 70% of what you'd be doing.
Pretty much. And then I figured if I could handle that, I mean, the only thing that was, I guess, delaying me from putting in that much mileage pre-journey was time constraints around the rest of life. You know what I mean? And then I knew when I was out there on the road, you get 12, 14 hours a day to just march in one direction. Whereas like I figured for the next however long I'm out here, that's my one purpose. Just keep moving forwards. Anything that happens around me, whatever it is, does not matter. Just keep moving forwards. And you get to put in 12, you get to put in as much as you want out of it. You could put in 20-hour days. I mean, Dave Proctor, the guy who did the biggest record, 67 days, he's putting in 110 kilometers a day. So, I mean, I just gather all kinds of evidence of people who are way better and stronger than me around me. And I'm like, if Dave Proctor can do 67, the least I can do is 50, 60, 70 a day.
Yeah, but for you, it never was about a record. Like you never wanted to beat Dave Proctor. Like that
No,
that
definitely
guy's
not.
a freak of nature. I'm saying you're a freak of nature too. I'm not saying you're not, but like that was never your goal. You never wanted to show him
And
up or show anyone up. You wanted to just do this thing.
that's just it. If there ever was a world record attempt, you got to go west to east so you
Yes,
get
the
the wind at
mountains
your back.
and the wind. Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that Terry Fox coin where he's running and the trees are blowing backwards at him to signify that he was running into the wind.
Yeah. I actually read his most recent book recently, the Bill Viggers book. And if you haven't read it right now, anyone who's watching this, go read it. It's the most recent, I guess, testimony from Bill was president, not president. He was president of the Ontario chapter of the Canadian Cancer Society back then. He was a young guy. Spent 2.5 months with Terry. He brought his kids with him and just hung out with Terry. And he finally told his story. It was awesome to read, and it's a friendly reminder of the sacrifices that Terry make. I want to talk about those sacrifices that you made. So you were getting up. Tell us about your routine. Tell us about how you started every day and what your plan was, and how did you know how many miles you'd do and when you'd stop and when you'd stop for lunch? And I'm curious
For
about all
sure.
that.
So before we dive into that, I just want to say Bill Viggers, huge shout out. Definitely get his book. He reached out to me so early on, like in the first few days, and he was like, he sent me $100 and he said, "Do not put this in the cancer fund. This is for you. This is like me betting on a winning horse." He was like, "I've never seen anyone since Terry that I believed in as much as I believe in you." And Bill Viggers and I went back and forth a little bit over Facebook on the early parts of the journey. Same with Fred and I, but I think early on it was just so explosive, and the Terry Fox Foundation is getting all these phone calls, and I'm going on live stream, and then people are, I don't know, it's like a lot at first. I'm sure all the veterans are, who's this Jax guy? Everyone's telling us about, and they were so positive and supportive towards me, and it was super nice feeling to know I had some of Terry's crew in my corner, and just felt really good for me personally. But then basically the first 40 days I was completely solo.
Yeah, you didn't
So
have Cross Canada Rob yet.
no, I just had my stroller and my sleeping
Kind of
bag.
like Terry, right? A little bit. His brother joined him kind of a month or two in. Similar. I mean, he had his buddy, but I mean, you were completely solo.
Sometimes you just got to take the leap, and then with your example you've set, hopefully some people might start believing in you. That's what I had believed, at least. And so I would get up, 6, 7 in the morning. I'd try and be on the road between 8 and 9. I would pre-Rob, I'd make sure I'd get my food in me first. Rob would run out, grab us breakfast while I would just start trudging along, and I would just eat quickly. But super early wake up time, 8, 9, then just trek all day till like 9 or 10. And basically the minimum was to get at least 50 kilometers a day. And if I got 50, I was happy. So it was a run/walk. Of course, it wasn't a full run. So if you can walk 6 kilometers an hour for 10 hours, at 60 kilometers, but you're not getting the full 6. So I, average that to 5. So within 10 hours, you can get 50K of just walking. So if you mix in some running, your lunch breaks and whatnot, over 10 hours of a full day, you're getting that 50K pretty easily. So that's just what it was. I'd wake up 8, 9, start trekking. And then the amazing thing was I was on the live stream. So if I'm hungry for lunch, someone would show up on the side of the road with a chicken burger. So I was literally like not have to stop. I'm just pushing my stroller. Here comes donuts, hot chocolates, chicken burgers, wraps, whatever it was. Like, it was just nonstop. People just kept showing up. So my stroller, that's why I ended up phoning in for help, because my stroller was like 40 pounds overweight, because I'm not going to tell someone no who came all this way to, tell me their story about how cancer's affected their life, give me their donation, and then, would you take this? They want to feel like they're helping me. So I'll take your sandwich, I'll take this, I'll take that. And then by the end of it, you got a whole mountain on your stroller. And my initial fundraising goal was 50,000. And right off the get-go, we were at like 15 grand leaving Newfoundland. And I was like, that's the first province. Like, I need to call in some backup just so I can focus on my mission, and Rob will help with the outside stuff. And I just knew I was just the vessel, and everything else would go on around me.
Kind of a microcosm what Terry went through a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you read his book, Terry at the end was like, I just want to run, and I want to do max one appearance per day. I can't do more than one appearance per day. And like, I can't, and it's kind of what you're saying now is like, you wanted to, yes, you were very thankful of everyone, but you wanted to kind of do your thing, right?
Yeah, I was just out there doing my thing, and I didn't really plan any visits anywhere. I just figured if people were inspired by the journey after, at that point, I would go do, any kind of speaking things. But truthfully, like, thousands of people came just to the side of the highway. So I felt like I almost did that, like the PR just from the side of the road. Like, it was, if you watch the live stream, it was almost like the fun thing. Who was going to show up next, and when was it going to happen? And sometimes you'd have back to back to back to back people. And then you get into the bigger cities, and it was rah, 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 rah. And then Rob and I, so it was just funny, because sometimes you just couldn't wait to get out of those busy areas and get back to that, just the slow grind we were used to, where it's just kind of him and I in the middle of nowhere, putting in the miles, enjoying the sunshine, and enjoying our friendship, and just enjoying the blessed journey we got to be on.
I need to tell you, the viewers, this, because I was lucky enough to spend one day with you guys, and I wanted to spend a real Jax, Cross Canada Jax and Cross Canada Rob Day, and I did it right after Run with Rob, and I did it in Winnipeg, just outside of Winnipeg. I met you in the morning, just outside of Eli, or just on this side of Eli. We got going nice and early, and I had texted with you before, and I was like, I want to do a full day with you. And you're like, dude, if you want, come out. But like, a lot of people say they want to do a full day, but like, we're gonna do 50K or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I want to do it. And I went out with you that day, and I saw firsthand the people. Like, you were streaming all day. So those of you that don't know, Jax would stream on his phone on TikTok live all day. You would regularly get multiple millions of likes on your stream.
Oh,
Never
yeah.
mind, like multiple millions, right? I'm not exaggerating.
No, you're not exaggerating that. Yeah, like, people who are watching that day, like, every stream, it starts back at 0, and there would be 5 million by the end of the day.
Yeah, and you had hundreds, if not thousands, of viewers watching live, and we'd be, I was so not used to that. Like, I like running, I run a ton, and we'd be running, and then like a car pulls up, and like a person in a gorilla suit runs out, and is like, here are my kids, and they're big fans, and you would like stop, and you would chat, and you would thank them, and then the food would go in the van, and they would bring like, what did they bring? Popcorn or something? I'm trying to remember. And then someone else like brings food, and someone like, and that whole day, I only got to spend one day with you, but I still remember it as a very magical day for me, because I felt like I was part of something special. I think we did like 50K or something. I forget exactly how much it was,
Hey,
but it was all day. And it was cool because like you were running, and then Rob and I were going back and forth to get the van, if I recall. And it was just a fun day, because I think we ended up running a little bit more that day, you and I, than you kind of normally would, because you're like, Rob's here, Rob Tatro's here, so I'm gonna run with him.
yeah,
So
well,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
sorry. No,
I
you go
was
ahead.
just going to say, yeah, like, the day you came was awesome, because I just wanted to, you're not going to say it yourself, but that was the day Rob also came and donated $5,000. The second biggest donation, next to the literal designing company who helped us sell 7,000 sweatshirts. So that was just a single man who donated $5,000, which helped us reach, we hit that cusp of 100,000. So super appreciative when you came out that day. I remember that day. That's why we still keep in touch. Like, I
I
learned
had
so
gone
much
to
from
see
you.
you. I'd gone to see you in Sandylands before. Like we ended up jogging on a Friday, you and I, me, you, like the long day. But I think like so on what day did you throw the first pitch at the Gold Eyes game? Like the Thursday, I think, or the Wednesday?
I wouldn't be
You
able to
were a
tell
bit of a
you.
celebrity, right? Like it was pretty, you were a celebrity in Winnipeg. But like the Monday, I think you were in Sandylands, if that makes sense, or maybe the Tuesday. And I went out, it was Tuesday because I had men's league golf. I went out and I ran like 15K with you or something. And I was like, wow, I couldn't get over how, and this is not meant to be negative, but how like basic your setup was. Like it was you and Rob, your van, you're making your food, you're brushing your teeth by the side of the van, you're making I think you were making pasta in the thing. Like I was just like, wow, these guys are really like I don't know, I won't say roughing it. And
Yeah.
he's sacrificing all this because he wants to donate every penny. You know, you could have been using some of that money, stayed in fancy hotels and all that, but you weren't. You were doing the opposite of that. So I left that day thinking, holy smokes, I gotta cut a check for these guys. Like I was inspired. I was
Well,
inspired. And I was like, and then I'd asked you, do you mind if I come run with you? And you said, yeah, for sure. So Friday, I cleared my calendar, I canceled all my meetings. I said, I'm gonna go run, once in a lifetime opportunity to run with someone who's running across the country. And when I left that day, I was driving back to the city. I was just like, I want to make a significant donation. So you inspired me to make that donation. I wasn't planning on making that donation. It just, I thought about it. Like as I think I told you as I was running with you, I'm like, I'm doing this. And then we ended up talking about like fundraising and like how to a corporate structure and all these kind of neat things that were I was like, oh well, I'm helping Jax here. It was kind of fun because I got to help in ways that I
hey,
couldn't.
you've helped me beyond things I'm sure you could even know. So I'm so appreciative for you, Rob.
Okay, thank you for saying that, Jax. But I mean, you're the guy who ran across Canada in a very surprisingly quick 161 days.
That's just
That,
one thing, though. We've all have great things about us, and truthfully, Rob, I've pulled a lot of inspiration from you. So that's
okay, well,
why
thank you.
I love to
Thanks
stay
for
in touch.
pumping my tires. Thanks
No,
for
you're a
pumping my
beast.
tires.
You are a beast. That's why I'm excited to be here with Charlie, because I have a brother myself. So I know the competitiveness that goes on beyond brothers. And shout out to my brother and Terry, but I could never be where I was without my brother pushing each other every single day.
Does your brother talk a lot more than you, or how does that work? No, just kidding.
He
No,
actually
this.
doesn't talk.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's like me a little bit. So yeah, no, amazing. I just really love hearing about your story. It's really inspiring. Your attitude is amazing. I have a couple questions when we have some time here, but like,
We got time.
um,
Go ahead, Charlie.
yeah, like any interesting food drop-offs that
Oh
people
gosh.
were sending?
Um. Well, I feel bad if anyone listens to this. It's all love, but someone brought us like this uh, frozen dried bag of blueberries, and then also like moose meat. But Rob and I were out, we called it our morning gratitude run, where Rob would try and get 7 ahead with me and then 7 back. So he would have about 14, 15K on the day. And, you don't want him sitting in the van all day. So some lady had found us on the side of the road and was like, I have these blueberries and moose meat for you. Like, where should I put them? And it did not look like something I should have been eaten. I don't know. And then by the time Rob got back to the van, she left it under the tire. So it was all just like, my apologies. It was all melted and did not look safe to eat. So there was funny times like that where people would just show up with the randomest thing, like a peach cobbler, and just like leave it at the van. It was, yeah, funny things like that. But most of the time our diet it was nice when we could get a home cooked meal, but it was mostly just junk food. I had a strict diet for many, many years, supplementation, hydration, sleep, everything was dialed in so that when I was out there, I could just kind of let it all go. And if I was eating McDonald's 4 times a day and a Subway at midnight, like whatever, because I did the work before.
I got a photo on my phone of you getting an Amazon driver pulling on the side of the road and just dropping off Slurpees for you on June 23rd. That's the day we ran together. And like, I was just like, what's happening? How are these people just, sorry to interrupt, but like,
No,
I
that's
remember that.
awesome. Yeah. No, that must have been quite an experience. Just yeah, like you're very successful with the stream. I guess so. Rob is a guy that you let's talk about him. How did he help, and when did he come into to play?
For sure. So Rob is my childhood best friend. We grew up in the same neighborhood of Linden Woods,
Yeah.
and him and I were always the outdoors guys. Like we like to be on the skateboards and the longboards and just be out and about. And so, we were just always such good friends throughout life. And as I was looking for partners to initially take on this journey, because I did have a van, Rob was high up there at a couple other people. And some people were kind of like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, I love to do that with you, like who wouldn't want to? It's kind of like a free vacation in a way. It's a working vacation, but it's still a fun cross Canada trip. So I kind of had some people saying yes, but then when push came to shove, everyone was like, no, like I have to pay bills. I have a job. I have my girlfriend. And as I was out there for the first 40 days, I was like, hey, well, this is getting pretty serious. I knew for a fact I could do it the whole way solo. Could have taken me 200 days, but I knew I could have made it. But I was just like, for this fundraiser to be what it's turning into be, I need someone extra here. So I kept sending Rob pictures from the side of the road because he was working from home, starting to get stir crazy. And I guess he was getting a little jealous. And I kept saying like, well, this could be you out here. I was sending him all these beautiful pictures, and the snow started to melt out east, and it was still minus 30 or minus 40 in Winnipeg. So I think he started to get the itch. And at one point he said yes. And so he quit his job, told his girlfriend he'd be back. And he said, but kept saying, we'll be done by July 4th. That wasn't the case, which is why, unfortunately, Rob didn't end up leaving on around day 120, because I don't think either of us expected this mission to be so long. But he quit his job, left his girlfriend, left his apartment, and got my van out of storage and drove it all the way across the country. And that first day when I saw him come over the horizon on episode 40, it was just the best feeling ever. It was so weird to see my best friend in East Coast Canada in the flesh, knowing he had left, he had nothing on his plate besides helping me on this mission. It was epic.
And I saw Rob in action. So I remember the early TikTok. Like, I don't want to say, how do I say this respectfully? He got in much better shape throughout the days, definitely, right? Like, because the day that he ran with us, he did like, I think he did 40, 50K with us. And he was
I don't
telling me
know.
like, I
He
couldn't jog. He was like, I couldn't jog 10K when this thing started, right? And
Yeah,
then he
that's
just every day.
those morning gratitude runs, we've slowly increased them. I knew if I had in my backpack a couple Pop-Tarts or whatever it was, a couple things of hydration, and I'm set, and then I'd run off. And that's the thing, I'm not running the whole way. So if I run the first 10 with Rob and then he has to run 10 back, if I just start walking, I'm not going to perish on the side of the road. So I always wanted to make sure my crew was well in mental health and physical health, because we can't have people start deteriorating and falling off on you. I wanted to make sure the crew was in just as good of health.
I have a question about your gratitude runs. I like that term, because I feel like for me, sometimes I don't know, you have hard, like sometimes I'll have a hard run or a hard workout in the morning or whatever, but really it's really kind of one of the things that I'm the most grateful for whenever I'm in a tough spot in any of these workouts. I feel like so grateful to be doing it. It's like puts me in kind of I'm getting emotional just thinking about how grateful I am when those workouts happen. So yeah, I really like how you call that a gratitude run. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit more.
Well, for sure. So I feel like we're all blessed to be healthy, able-bodied people, and we should not take that for granted. So most of us, we're out, we work our butts off 9 to 5, and life's busy and whatever. And so people get sick, and there's just no time where we call it the gratitude run because everyone else we knew was working at home, whatever, these busy nut lives. And so it's 9 a.m., sun shining on us. We got nothing to do but to run that day. So we had nothing better to do but just be so grateful for it. You're with your best, like, I have my value system is like health and family and like loved ones is so high up there. And then like for me, financial is a little less. I'll knock down some financial, like I'm not like I'm not reaching the pinnacle of financial wealth. For me it was like health and friendship and gratitude and those moments. So like Rob and I we have a saying now, we'll always have Agawa, because there's a Agawa Hill in Thunder Bay or near Thunder Bay in that Superior stretch where it was the most, like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It's the best friend we've ever had. I would love to pull up the picture, but we had the best run ever, and we just every day we'd get out there. We're just so grateful that, you know, so many people live hard lives and would snap their fingers even to be in my shoes to do 50 kilometers a day, like people suffering from cancer. That was my like thing out there. I know there's people suffering from cancer that would go 67 days without a shower and run 50 kilometers a day just to not have cancer anymore. So that's where the gratitude comes from. Every time I'm out there doing an able-bodied hardcore thing, I'm just so grateful that I'm healthy enough to do something like that, because there's so many people that don't get that chance. And that's where it comes to Terry, you know, like in his young 20s, lost his life way too early. He had a brother who still grieves his loss. So I think to my brother, and I just think to all these bad things that I've gone through to other people. And I'm just like, well, I'm going to be grateful for what I have right now before I get that reality check. And I'm like, well, why wasn't I grateful for my brother? Why wasn't I grateful that I can go running? Why wasn't I grateful that even though I have to be up at 6 a.m., you know, I'm grateful that I can be up at 6 a.m. Like, life, we only get one life, and I want to be grateful for absolutely every single aspect of it before time's up. Sorry if that got off the rails, but
No,
kind of my gratitude pitch.
No, that was amazing.
it was awesome.
So anyways, you guys tell me, you guys got your Boston Marathon coming up. Are you guys
Nah,
racing against each
nobody
other?
cares about us, Jax.
Yeah. We're not here to talk about
I
ourselves.
do want to ask you, I appreciate you caring about, yeah, we could touch on Boston quick, but I want to get back to one memory that I had, which you might not remember, but it definitely marked me on our jog. You started talking about this, and here I am, 2, 3 years ago, I was that guy who had a different, I weighed 250 pounds. I had, financial freedom as my most important thing in my life, and I didn't have health and family, and I didn't have all these other things that I should have. And you started talking exactly like this. And I asked you about the gratitude run, and you said what it did. And then I started talking about my dad and how my dad had cancer. And you told me, I don't know if you remember this, but I was down and I was like crying and I was having a bit of a hard time on our jog. And you told me, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of, first off, your dad's an incredibly strong guy. He's a fighter. He's going to do great. And then you said, plus Rob, what are you able to do today in your shoes to do that? Focus on what you can do to make yourself healthier and better, and focus on the things that matter in your life. And that's why I'm doing this. So I just put all those thoughts together, and I was just like, oh, it just kind of hit me that I was like, here's this young guy, 25-year-old, who's got way more wisdom than I've ever had and way more wisdom and perspective. So I was just incredibly marked by that. And we talked about cancer. We haven't talked about cancer yet in this recording, but um, I feel like it gave us the opportunity to connect and reminded us like how
No,
fragile life is.
I loved it because I feel like maybe you wear one of those corporate suits and you could still be, but I feel like I could feel within you like a free spirit that just wanted to be let out. And yeah, I just loved it that you were, honestly, I just felt like you're a guy who's like super hardcore and you're able to reach anything you set your mind to. So you've reached all these things that maybe one day I would like to reach in my life. And it was just so cool to see you and treat me with mutual respect, and we were just kind of exchanging ideas. And I just like, it's not easy to be a lawyer, to run your own wealth advisory firm, have all those employees, have a family, do all that traveling. Like, all those things are so amazing. And like, I don't have any of that. I'm just a runner. So you're seeing me and you're like, you have everything I want. You're running across Canada. And I'm like,
I was so jealous, dude.
and then I'm looking at you and I'm like, well, I wish I could have the grit, intelligence, strength, and everything to have accomplished everything you have. So it's that's why I love the exchange of ideas we had on the road. It was just like, I got to peek behind the curtain of a guy I would one day like to be, and then maybe the same way you peeked behind the curtain of a guy that you potentially feel like you have some of the same values within you. So it was just, I thought it was just amazing mutual Manitoban collaboration.
Yeah, and Charlie could probably attest to this, but it actually like marked me to the point that I kind of started, I anyways, I've made some changes and I value things differently now in life than I used to, and I'm glad, really, really glad I met you that first day where we had our first heart to heart on the side of the road and just outside of Sandylands, and then our day together. It was awesome. And then obviously I followed your story the whole way, and it's a pretty neat story.
Yeah, I would love to maybe say one thing of how I got to wanting to, I guess, be an advocate for cancer patients.
Please do. Please do.
So when I was about 19 years old, I ended up finishing college and getting into the healthcare field as a therapeutic recreation facilitator for older adults. So I worked in long-term care, and I had 50 residents of my own, but 211 in the building. Aww. Hello. And so every day I would get to spend time with, 90 to 100-year-olds and learn from them. I'd ask them so many questions, and I would honestly try to see, like, I just, you can learn a lot from the older generation, and I was there to learn as much as I could. And so, but one thing I learned was, for me, the ultimate gift in this life, like, Alzheimer's and dementia sucks, but I'm always looking for the silver lining, right? And the silver lining for me there was, they got to be 90 and 100 years old. They got to grow up, have a childhood, have a family, potentially be a grandparent. And, that's like the dream of life. And then hopefully get to just rock in your wheelchair and watch what you've created. And so I figured, well, these guys all got their rocking chair moments. Maybe it's terrible that they're suffering now in these homes, but and then I kept thinking, like, well, so I'm helping these 50 people every single day, but I felt like I could do more. Like, I'm so energetic. I was running around. All my residents had like 40 to 50 programs a month. They're only supposed to have 8 a week. And I'm just like doing everything with them. And I was like, I feel like I could do more than just for these 50 people. And I was like, well, what do I value most? Living a long life. And who can I help that doesn't get to do that? People with cancer, and like my literal hero, Terry Fox. And so it kind of just all built together to me to want to pursue helping cancer patients so everyone can have that rocking chair moment. Like, I always think, imagine if Terry was still alive, like how epic that would be. And his poor brother, like I said, I have a brother. I just sit there sometimes and I think, if I lost my brother to cancer, how terrible that would be. And I would just, I'd probably cry and break down for weeks and months and years on end. So I just think I'm just so blessed. I have a small group in my family, but I've yet to lose nobody bloodline wise. I've lost many people I've cared about, but I haven't lost anybody, and I have all this energy and power to give out into the world. And so I just figured, cancer is still being worked on. And just like Terry said, the marathon of hope must continue. And until we find that cure and no one else loses a life to cancer, I think that's an extremely appropriate way for me to spend my time, energy, and resources on a cause.
That's
Sorry, I
awesome.
just get all preachy, but
No, it's good. It's good. What about what's next? Have you thought of doing something else? I mean, you have a phenomenal brand, CrossCanadaJax has over 50,000 followers. You get millions of likes on your videos. You're a bit of a celebrity media wise. What do you want to do? Do you want to run in something else? Do you want to get out of running?
So I
What's the
want to say
list?
first, a lot of that is like during like a lot of that fame per se is because it's happening. You know, I'm very grateful that afterwards, all the time I spent on the live stream, I actually didn't realize how many people I connected with every single day that are now still in my corner, have formed their own little community. We're called the Cure Crew. And it's this great group of people that are all like-minded, generous, big-hearted, empathetic, compassionate people that just want to uplift others. We don't want to tear anyone down and see it, you know, when we're jealous when someone's doing better. We're just, everyone's there for each other. So with that amazing group of people, it allowed me to kickstart a book I'm working on. I actually just got my first set of posters in today called Brunswick's Big Adventure.
Oh,
So
nice.
as I ran across Canada, I had this little moose that someone gave for me. We ended up selling about 200 mooses, and it raised, or 300, and it raised 7,000 extra dollars. But he was in my bag the whole time. And so I'm retelling the story through his eyes because I don't really like to boast myself. That's why I wanted to make the Journey Terry Fox tribute. I didn't want to be the guy. I just wanted to do this thing for Terry. So in this book, you know, if you don't know who CrossCanadaJax is, you never will. It's just going to be a cool little book on this moose's journey on his coast to coast run for cancer research. And I'm just hoping to inspire, educate, and uplift the youth about cancer research. There's some good vocabulary words in here. So maybe I remember as a kid going to the dictionary and trying to piece together what this book meant. So I love words. And so this book is releasing on May 1st, 2024.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to do a little coast to coast book tour just in a vehicle where I'm going to go city to city, bookstore to bookstore, try and sell as many copies of these as I can. And the goal is that $10 of each $25 sale, because there is background costs for everything, is going to go again to the Terry Fox Foundation. So in my projections, if I can sell 10,000 copies of this book, we can do what we did last summer and raise another $100,000 for cancer research. So that's currently what I'm working on. That's going to be released on May 1st. And that's kind of my main goal. And then I spent time here. I met a beautiful girl on my Cross Canada run. Her name is Bailey. And I kind of uprooted my whole life out here to be with her and take a chance on love, because, you know, I've been saying this whole time, like, I just believe, you know, let's say I have 70 more years. I want that 70 years spent with someone I can call my best friend and makes me smile every day, and hopefully will be the mother of my children and whatnot. So I took a chance on love, and it's been going amazing. And so I've been running out in Grand Falls, just like I said, not taking anything for granted. As a Manitoban, we get flat lands. Out here, I'm on by the river. I'm running up hills. I'm running through this fun town. It's just been I love running in Winnipeg too, but as a runner, it's cool when you get to try new spots to run and learn the area inch by inch. So yeah, I've just been loving my life in Grand Falls. We're going to work on the book. For me, nothing's too permanent. Once the book's over, who knows what we'll do, but I do have another run planned. I'm thinking either when I was kept saying 30, but now I'm like maybe 28. I want to do California I want to do up and diagonal through the States and kind of end near the New Brunswick area.
Maine kind of thing.
Yeah.
San Diego to Maine or something like that.
And it's only 5,000 kilometers. I'd be running with the wind. It honestly, it sounds like
just a jog.
Yeah,
too easy.
Too easy. Yeah.
Sounds ignorant to say a little easy, but like
just a weekend maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I could on that run do another fundraiser, like I'm trying to space them out. So I'm not the guy who's just always like, give me money for cancer. I want to make a nice big official event where, you know, it's fun to contribute to that event. And by the end of that, hopefully, you know, I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say 10 years from now, he believes no one else is going to lose a life from cancer. He's, you know, a space scientist, but someone in that field, I just take that to heart. And if I know if I have to push 10 more years in this direction and we've accomplished what Terry's been trying to accomplish since 1980, I'm happy. I'm only 36 and I've accomplished, well, not me, but us as a collective universe have cured cancer, and then I can move on to the next thing. But for me, that's kind of where I'm at.
Charlie, do you want to go here? Otherwise, I was going to ask you about running and, well, first I want to ask you about your most memorable moment. And the one that I remember the most is obviously my time with you, but your time at the statue in Ottawa was pretty cool. It was very cool to see on TikTok. What was and I imagine when you passed, I remember when you stayed at the motel that Terry stayed at on his last night in Thunder Bay. That must have been, or it was before Thunder Bay. It was in Marathon, wasn't it?
That one is right before Terrace Bay.
Or
So
Terrace Bay.
yeah.
But I imagine maybe passing the spot where Terry actually ended his run would have been. But was there a highlight or an most emotional moment? And then I want to ask you about advice for runners.
Weirdly enough, this one just sounds like selfish, but maybe there is a selfish moment. When I reached Banff I got invited to stay at the Fairmont Banff Springs, and well, I was just lugging it for so long. It was just so nice to show up there, and I could see why people pay so much. They treat you like you're some kind of royalty, and it was just so nice to have all those days grinding, and then to have someone who they just kind of let me kick my feet up for a night. Like someone ordered me a pizza just from the live stream to the room. I had another Manitoban. His name was Ronst, huge Terry Fox fan. After I lost Rob, he just instantly drove west and was like, "I'm here to help you. I love Terry. Let's finish this." And so him and I got to share a night at the Banff Fairmont Springs, and it was just like there was just so much hardness to get to that point. To get to, like, I knew Ronst was going to be my final partner. It was like almost like finally where I felt like a little bit of relaxation. It was like, I'm here with my final partner. Like, I'm getting a great rest and relax. I can shower. I can do all this. I'm just ready to take on the mountains. It was just such a amazing pinnacle moment where it just felt like it was in my heart. That's where it was done. I was like, I only have, 600-700 kilometers to go. I can, it was just like, it just felt like it all wrapped up there. And I was just like, we got this. And then
you were kind of like that in Manitoba. You were like, I've only got Saskatchewan, Alberta left. They're flat. This will be no problem. You were like, I'm done. Like in your mind, you were like, Ontario was the tough one. I'm done.
You kept kind of having to do that. When I'm get out of here, it's easy. When I'm out of here, it's easy. When I'm out of here, it's easy. And then when you look back, you're like, how did I get this far?
What about Charlie? No, he's on mute. So I'll ask you this. What about advice?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So in terms of you prepared for a long time for this, and then you did it. Do you think that are there any things or anything that happened or that just surprised you and resulted in you, like, how has it changed your life? And I know you prepared a lot for it, but so you had a lot of, you kind of knew what you were getting into, but at the same time, there must've been some surprises, and how did it affect you in terms of your life after?
Well, so life changes, I guess, other like emotionally, spiritually kind of way. I don't feel like I had much change. There was a period that Rob did talk about where I might feel after like a bit of a low. I did feel almost like purposeless. I was like, I spent so much of my life to build up to this, to do this. And now I was just like, what's my next purpose? And
what's next? Yeah.
I was pretty hesitant on the book because that was Rob's dream. And I was like, Rob, if you help me with my dream, I'm going to help you with your dream. I'll do whatever it takes. And then Rob ended up going home. So, I don't think his dream really was to do a book about this. Maybe one day he'll do a book about something else, but he was always reading his Kindle at night, and he's super into reading and writing. So, sorry, what was the question again?
Anything surprised you?
Right. So the low, and then I had no purpose. And then my community was like, everyone kept saying pushing for a book, and the only reason I was against the book was because I didn't want to do that to Rob. But it just didn't seem like our paths might reconnect on another entrepreneurial venture for another time being. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this anyways, and write a tale on the journey. And so now I have some new purpose. After a while, after the run, I was depleted. Like, I could not muster up any energy whatsoever, day after day after day. And it was eating away at me because I knew in my head, I'm like, what makes me feel good is when I'm outside being grateful for my body, you know? And I couldn't do that. I just could not muster up the mental fortitude and the physical power to get out there. So there was definitely that little bit of period, but I kept telling myself, I just moved across the country. My van, which was my home, burnt down. I'm just getting to be with this girl that we spent 6 months on the phone talking. So I was able to ease my anxieties a little bit there, with just like, you've been through a lot. There's chaos. You don't need to be performing at your absolute best for these 2 months. So I gave myself a bit of time off, and now I'm kind of back better than ever. I've been probably doing about 40, 50-mile weeks as well out here in Grand Falls. I like to lift weights too. And I'll always do a jog before weightlifting, but I always do the two in the same day. And I know some people, like, I know you can overwork, but I don't know. I'm just kind of I like to just push it to the extreme. And if
not when you're 26, apparently. No,
I guess so.
I don't know. I'm kidding.
Whether it's a detriment or not,
this is way less than what you're used to, right? This is
like, exactly. So I think our body can handle a lot more than what we believe it can.
And you had no injuries, right, during the whole thing? I mean, you had some minor, but I mean, nothing that made you miss 2 or 3 days in a row.
So I never missed a day because I had the same philosophy. A cancer patient cannot miss like a radiation day or whatever. Therefore, I'm out here, rain, shine, pain, no pain. I'm out there for them. But this is what happened, Rob, what you don't know about. On my last day leaving Ontario, I did about 98 kilometers. And I was saving my 100K day because I was planning a whole fundraiser within the fundraiser called the 100 for 100, where if I did 100 kilometers, a bunch of people pledged $100. So I didn't want to it was just kind of spur of the moment day where I'm like, we're going for this border. We've been in Ontario for something like, over 2 months. We got to get out of here. And it was in my sights. So I did that 98K day, but around kilometer 65, something nicked in my left shin and area or my knee. I can't even remember. But basically, when we were out there, I don't even know if you noticed, but I was limping. Like, that's when I called myself I was a wounded deer. My Bambi leg. That's what I kept calling it, the Bambi leg. Rob every day would be like, "How's your Bambi leg?" Because I didn't want to tell people I was injured, because when you're in that moment, so many people are so invested in rah, rah, rah. And if I was like, if I tell anyone I'm injured, it's just going to derail this whole thing. We just got to keep pushing through. And
it's
so
what Terry Fox did, right?
Yeah, well, that's just it. I was like, if Terry's leg is bleeding, gushing blood, he's
But he
only
wouldn't
got
even,
one.
he couldn't breathe. They literally had to take him off on a stretcher as he went to
Right?
the hospital. Like, he
I
didn't
was
tell
like,
anyone.
least I can do is limp a little. So I did limp basically from the start of Manitoba to like the end of Saskatchewan. It was like 30 days straight. I was like, is this ever going to be okay? And, I was willing to crawl to the end. But yeah, like, if you look back at some of our footage, you might even now be able to tell that I'm limping in our running videos, because it was that was like the next day, or like a day or two after I finished Manitoba or Ontario, where we linked up. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna like be a B word when Rob shows up. Like, come on now. So, I had to put on the game face and push hard. But yeah, there's a lot of times where I was like trying to hide my Bambi limp.
Charlie, do you want to go here? Otherwise, I'm going to ask you about a message for listeners. So anyone who's watching out there who maybe hasn't taken full control of their lives, or maybe they've started jogging, or maybe they've started working out, or they've got some goals, what would you give as a piece of advice to them?
So my one piece of advice may be extreme, but this is how I view life, and this is how I live my philosophy. If you are someone who potentially victimizes themselves and just feels bad for themselves because life's just not going your way, there is someone out there within a snap of a finger, whether that's someone in the Middle East, someone with a medical emergency, or someone out there who's got a way worse time than you, would instantly sign a paper to take on all of your problems and everything you're doing in your life. So no matter what, just get over the feeling bad for yourself. Just take what's in front of you and just try to be the best version of yourself you can be. So what that means is take yourself where you're at. If you used to be a track runner in high school and now you're 250 pounds, don't try and get out there on your first run and be like, well, I can't do 20 kilometers anymore. What's even the point? Meet yourself where you're at and try and chip away every day to be the best version of yourself. Don't feel sorry for yourself. We all can have those weak moments, but at the end of the day, we're all the same flesh and blood. And the people who are doing these amazing, amazing things are just people that take 100% full on self accountability. Even when someone does something to you, I'm still taking accountability for that, because there's no power in living life trying to control others. So just control your, like I said, to Run with Rob, focus on what you can control, and that's yourself. And just focus on, even if with all the pitfalls in your life, there's got to be a way around it, and just to keep doing better and better. You know, there's people who have had way worse, who have done way more. And that's why I always look to Terry. One leg, cancer, bleeding from his leg, so young. And he managed to do almost 6,000 kilometers, which is nearly the full Cross Canada run, raise something like $22 million, or
They're going to hit $1 billion probably
well,
in
yeah,
2 years here.
So
$1
to sum it
billion
all up,
this 20-year-old from Winnipeg, 21-year-old from Winnipeg raised. He's going to $1 billion.
right? So
holy shit.
Stop feeling sorry for ourselves. Take some accountability for ourselves. And if we're someone that's, you know, maybe put our priority not in ourselves and maybe somewhere else and we let it get away from us for 10 years, you know, just accept where you are, and it's never too late to build and be better. That's why I love your story, Rob. Maybe your running career wasn't the great and you started so late, and you're a beast. You're a better runner than me. So yeah, it's awesome. It's never too late to redefine who you are. You're not a victim. Take control, take some power, and you can conquer whatever you want. And conquering does not mean you have to be a cutthroat D-bag. It just means that you can just lead with some courage and power. And if you're a good follower, you can be a good leader, and people will take to your message, and people will follow you as you follow them. That's all I have to say.
I like that. Don't be afraid to ask for help too. Charlie, do you have anything you want to?
No, I mean, let's end it there. That's a great, great
really
way of looking at things.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, Jackson. You're so generous with your time. We're thankful that you were here. Once we obviously we'd love to have you back at some point, and maybe then we could talk a bit more about running strategies, training strategies, what you would do for miles, how you would do them, because that's also very, very interesting. I much rather big picture stuff today because I think that's way more impactful for anyone who's watching. But I do think it'd be interesting to get into like the details of how many shoes you went through and how many calories you ate and how many all that stuff to me is would also be really, really interesting. I mean, I did 12 days across Manitoba, and it was it was so hard for me. So
the best Run with Rob memory I have, I can't remember if you sent me a message or you asked me, but you're like, Jax, do you ever just wake up at 3 a.m. and you're just starving?
Like every day.
Rob, and we're just like, it's such a random message. I was like, well, luckily no, but damn, I respected that message because you were always eating huge. Like anyone who works out knows you want to go on bulks in order to really make any significant progress. That is where my downfall is. I'm a terrible eater. So I'm seeing Rob crush these 4 breakfasts full breakfasts, and I'm like, holy. So we were huge fans of Rob's eating. It was epic. But when we were watching all his eating, and then he was like, do you ever get hungry at night? And I'm like, no, but I wish.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I'm running twice the miles you're running, and I'm eating half of what you're running. How come I'm not hungry?
All our bodies are different, but it was pretty epic.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, thank you, Jax. We hopefully, I mean, this was fantastic. Don't forget to follow Jax on TikTok at CrossCanadaJax. Phenomenal following, unbelievable content. Follow him there. Follow us as well. Yes, visit CrossCanadaJax.com, the website CrossCanadaJax.com. May 1st, the book comes out. You can get it at all the bookstores, I imagine, online on Amazon as well. We will talk about it here. We'll do, whenever you come to Winnipeg, we'll do a release here. We will support that. I'll buy it. Charlie will buy it for his little boy there, Mikael, that you saw. And again, Jax, oh, is this hand up you want to say? Yes.
Yes, sir. If I ever run into both you guys, I would love to get some miles with you guys, truthfully.
Yes. Dude, when are you next in Winnipeg? We will run. One thing I know for sure, if you're not coming to Winnipeg, I'm in Great Falls on May 6th.
Sorry, where is Great Falls?
New Brunswick.
Oh,
I'm running across New Brunswick.
Far. Okay, yeah.
I'm running across New Brunswick in May, and I will be passing right through where Jackson is right now, and Edmundston and Fredericton and Moncton and all of the towns that I spent 1 year in the Maritimes and I loved it.
Well, I'll try and sign up for maybe 1 year earlier legs and just drive up, because my book tour is unfortunately might start May 1st. So I'm going to try and jig it up so I can, maybe as I'm going to start my tour, I do a leg with you and then keep going.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work for whatever reason, Jax, we'll do some miles some other time.
Yeah, like we can even on your book tour, you'll be moving around. We can meet up in somewhere, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we should do like a 30K or something. I remember when you were like, I was like, Jax, we should go, and you're like, yeah, we should just go for like a 60K or something. And I was like, yes.
Okay, guilty, but I want to get some older guys out there, and I want to, give you guys some inspiration. Be like, oh, I'm tired, but I can't admit it. This young guy, I got to be strong for this. I just want us all to get out there and pummel our bodies and just be like, wow, we're beasts.
But it's funny, most people, when they're like, hey, I want to go for a run, I want to do a 10K, or people might say I want to do a 15K. You're like, yeah, we should go out there and we should hammer out a 60K. And I was like, let's go. And that let's go is kind of the CrossCanadaJax chant for those of you that haven't been following him on TikTok. It's like, let's go. And I kind of stole it from you after I hung out with you for those couple of days. That I've been saying it since. So let's go. I had a meeting with the Premier's office last week, and he was like, and we could do this about the CMV screening. And I said, exactly, I was pumped. I said, let's go. And he's like, yes, I mean, we are trying to go. And I was like, no, I meant like a celebratory let's go. Like, I wasn't meaning like, anyways. Love it. Jax, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.